Scientific report reveals over 20,000 deaths in a Shanghai district after abandoning Clear Zero policy. COVID-19 resurgence peaks in Shanghai, clinics and funeral homes overwhelmed. An enterprise in Wujin, Jiangsu, experienced a dust explosion, resulting in 8 fatalities and 8 injuries. Controversial statement by Yanqing Judicial Bureau, People's Complaints, Government Never Loses. To escape crisis, Country Garden again sells nearly 4 billion yuan in assets. Scientific report reveals over 20,000 deaths in a Shanghai district after abandoning Clear Zero policy. Recently, a paper published in the Shanghai Journal of Preventive Medicine revealed that after the sudden relaxation of epidemic prevention and control measures by the Chinese Communist Party at the end of 2022, the actual number of deaths in a district of Shanghai exceeded the estimated number by 13,339. The actual death toll was more than 90 times the officially reported number. The paper, titled Investigation of Excess Deaths from Chronic Diseases in a District of Shanghai During the COVID-19 Pandemic, was authored by Zhang Min, Dong Dong, and Yan Wenwen. This revelation follows another paper published in the same journal titled Analysis of Excess Deaths and Years of Life Lost Among Residents After the Release of COVID-19 Infection Control Measures in a Town in Shanghai. The authors of this paper were Zhang Min, Zhou Dongdong, and 5 others, with funding from the Health Science and Technology Project of Pudong New Area Health Commission of Shanghai Municipality. According to this second paper, after the release of COVID-19 control measures in the town from December 7, 2022 to February 23, 2023, the estimated deaths were 125, but the actual deaths were 317, resulting in an excess death of 192 and an excess rate of 153.6%. The paper claimed that before the release of control measures, the life expectancy of residents was 84.41 years, with men at 81.5 years and women at 87.36 years. After the release, residents with excess deaths had an average reduction in lifespan of 11.6 years, with men experiencing 11.91 years less, and women 11.3 years less. After the exposure of these papers, some netizens commented that if this is happening in Shanghai, the death rate in economically underdeveloped provinces in the central and western regions would be even more severe. They criticized the CCP for its myriad wrongdoings. On December 7, 2022, the CCP's State Council Joint Defense and Control Mechanism issued a notice proposing 10 measures as guidance for optimizing epidemic prevention and control. This effectively marked the abandonment of the previously implemented 3-year extreme epidemic prevention policy known as Dynamic Zero COVID. After a complete reversal in epidemic control measures, the COVID-19 pandemic experienced a sudden surge nationwide, rapidly spiraling out of control. Hospitals were inundated with infected patients, resulting in long queues for treatment. Morgues were overflowing, and there were reports of long lines of hearses outside funeral homes in Beijing. Videos showed numerous vehicles carrying bodies waiting in line for cremation at the foot of Babaishan in Beijing, with some having to wait for up to 3 days. COVID-19 resurgence peaks in Shanghai, clinics and funeral homes overwhelmed. As the Lunar New Year approaches, residents in Shanghai province reveal that a new peak in COVID-19 cases has been reached since the onset of winter. Outpatient clinics and funeral homes are overflowing, with reports of sudden deaths, especially among middle-aged and elderly individuals. In one small village in Shanxi's Shaanning County, 15 villagers have passed away recently. Mr. Liang, a resident of Jincheng City, Shanxi, informed New Tang Dynasty on January 23 that the recent surge in COVID-19 cases has led to numerous deaths, primarily due to cardiovascular diseases and sudden fatalities. Liang, a resident of Jincheng City, Shanxi, many people have been experiencing fever and cold symptoms recently. As winter approaches, it's undoubtedly reaching a new peak. Funeral homes have been busier lately, and with changing weather, the elderly find it more challenging to get through the winter. Among nearby residents, there have been deaths, at least in the last few days. I've seen 3 or 4. Gui Chao, pseudonym, a resident of Datong City, Shanxi, stated that a colleague from his unit, whose family resides in a rural area of Shaanxi County, reported 15 deaths among villagers recently. This small village has only 200 to 300 residents, and in normal years, only a few deaths occur. In 2023, there were only 6 newborns, indicating a significant population decrease. Gui Chao, a resident of Datong City, Shanxi, I recently caught a cold, and the small clinics are crowded. It feels quite severe. Now, there's not a healthy person left, and people are dwindling. In Shaanxi County, there's a village where 15 people died this winter. The farmers' conditions are not good, perhaps enduring life is difficult, and death is a relief. Several Shanxi residents mentioned that their symptoms resembled those of the COVID-19 virus rather than a regular cold. However, the authorities concealed information about the epidemic, and hospitals did not conduct tests. Liang, a resident of Jincheng City, Shanxi, fever and cold symptoms are prevalent, challenging to treat, often recurring without improvement. Personally, I feel like sleeping. My child, who is 2 months old, is now an adult. Heart attacks and strokes have increased. I heard about several cases, 4 or 5 of them, aged 40 to 50, suspecting that it's definitely caused by the vaccine. Dong, a resident of Shuozhou City, Shanxi, this information cannot be openly discussed. Currently, our unit is having a meeting, and people above are already wearing masks. I think something's not right. Leaders above are not telling the truth, the conscience is greatly damaged. An enterprise in Wujin, Jiangsu, experienced a dust explosion, resulting in 8 fatalities and 8 injuries. On the early morning of January 20th, a dust explosion occurred in the production workshop of Changzhou Ginseng Metal Technology Limited Company, located in Nanzhangshu Street, Wujin District, Changzhou City, Jiangsu Province, resulting in 8 deaths and 8 people sustaining light injuries. This is a serious industrial safety incident that has garnered widespread attention and scrutiny from the public. What are the causes of the accident? Who bears the responsibility for the accident, and what lessons can be learned? These questions demand fair, transparent, and accountable answers. According to media reports, Changzhou Ginseng Metal Technology Limited Company is engaged in metal surface treatment, primarily producing aluminum alloy materials. At the time of the incident, the company's production workshop was conducting a process called thermal spraying. This process involves spraying metal powder onto the metal surface at high temperatures and pressures to enhance the metal's wear resistance and corrosion resistance. This process inherently carries certain risks, as metal powder can easily form a flammable dust cloud in the air. Once ignited by an open flame or static electricity, an explosion may occur. Factors such as dust concentration, temperature, humidity, and ventilation conditions in the workshop play a crucial role. Whether these conditions comply with safety standards, whether effective explosion-proof measures are in place, and whether regular cleaning and inspections occur are all significant factors in the occurrence of the accident. According to the reactions of local residents and staff, the company's production workshop was constructed with a simple steel structure, lacking firefighting facilities and dedicated supervision. Some claim that the company's production technology and equipment are relatively outdated, and safety management is lax. It has been disclosed that the company has undergone inspections by higher authorities multiple times without making necessary corrections. There are doubts about whether the company possesses a legitimate production license, whether safety approvals were obtained, and whether it complies with environmental standards. Regarding the responsibilities, after the accident, the Wujin District Fire Rescue Brigade swiftly arrived at the scene, extinguished the flames within an hour, and rescued 16 trapped individuals. Local leaders from Changzhou City promptly visited the scene, established an accident disposal command, and initiated investigations and follow-up actions. Currently, the injured are receiving medical treatment, and families of the deceased are being consoled and compensated. However, certain details, such as the specific time and causes of the accident, the exact time and distance of the fire rescue team's arrival, any difficulties encountered during the rescue, the specific causes of death and identities of the deceased, the specific injuries and treatment conditions of the injured, and the situation and compensation standards for the families of the deceased, have not been disclosed or clarified. These pieces of information are crucial for reconstructing the truth of the accident, evaluating the effectiveness of rescue and disposal efforts, and safeguarding the legitimate rights and interests of the families of the victims. Furthermore, the accountability of the incident is a focal point of public concern. The legal representatives and relevant responsible personnel of the involved company have been placed under control, while investigations into the causes of the accident are still ongoing. In accordance with the relevant laws and regulations of the People's Republic of China on workplace safety, the involved company should bear major civil, administrative, and criminal responsibilities. Simultaneously, if supervisory departments and personnel are found to have engaged in negligence, dereliction of duty, or other misconduct, they should bear corresponding legal responsibilities. Only by strictly punishing those responsible can a deterrent and warning effect be achieved, and social fairness and justice be upheld. Controversial statement by Yinqing Judicial Bureau, People's Complaints, Government Never Loses. The Yinqing Judicial Bureau in Jiangsu Province recently stirred controversy by claiming that the city government has not lost any legal cases for 5 consecutive years. This statement, published in an article titled Strengthening Administrative Power Supervision to Ensure Legal Operation of Administrative Power on September 30, 2022, has sparked public debate. According to the article, the Yinqing city government achieved a 100% success rate in administrative litigation cases, a feat unmatched throughout the province. From January to August, the courts concluded 56 administrative lawsuits against the Yinqing city government, with a 100% success rate. In comparison, the national average failure rate for administrative agencies in 2022 was 14.99%, and Jiangsu Province had a first-instance failure rate of 7.8%. Local residents expressed concern over the difficulty in suing government officials, stating that the self-praise by the Yinqing Judicial Bureau implies that citizens have no chance of winning cases against the city government. Some commented on the abundance of legal resources available to government authorities, discouraging individuals from pursuing legal action. The article, initially present on the official website of the Yinqing Judicial Bureau, has been removed. Netizens raised questions about the government's influence over the legal system and its potential impact on citizens' freedom of speech. Some individuals shared personal experiences of legal disputes with the Yinqing government, further fueling the debate. The online discourse also featured speculation on the evolving control of speech by the Chinese Communist Party, suggesting a progression from limiting opposing views to suppressing any form of dissent or insufficient praise. To escape crisis, Country Garden again sells nearly 4 billion yuan in assets. China's Country Garden Holdings Limited Company, Country Garden, listed 5 asset projects on the Guangzhou Property Exchange on January 22, with a total value of 38.18 billion yuan. This marks Country Garden's second attempt to sell off its properties to rescue itself from the debt crisis. In January alone, Country Garden publicly listed projects for transfer totaling 50 billion yuan. The real estate projects being sold are all located in Guangzhou and include office buildings, commercial buildings, hotels, and apartment buildings. Due to the clear property rights and good value of these properties, industry experts predict a relatively fast realization of their value. Among these properties, the most expensive one is the Phoenix City Hotel in Xingqing District, Guangzhou, with a transfer price of 1.26 billion yuan. The hotel is currently in operation. Another asset with a transfer price exceeding 10 billion yuan is the Kanglongfu office building in Panyu District, Guangzhou, with a transfer price of 1.152 billion yuan. Country Garden is not only selling assets in China. In January of this year, a piece of land in Sydney, Australia, was also transferred. Country Garden's Australian subsidiary Risland sold the equity of the Wilton Greens development project about 65 kilometers southwest of Sydney to the developer Avantos, with the sale rumored to be worth $240 million Australian dollars. In October 2023, Country Garden sold its stake in the Windermere project, a residential land development in the outskirts of Melbourne, for approximately $250 million Australian dollars to Singapore's Frasers Property. In mid-December 2023, Country Garden also divested its shares in the Wanda Group for a cash amount of 3 billion yuan. The reason for Country Garden's accelerated sale of its properties to raise funds is the enormous debt pressure it is facing. In the first half of this year, Country Garden still faces external debt pressure. According to Enterprise Early Warning data, Country Garden currently has a total of 15 outstanding US dollar bonds, with a current balance of $9.91 billion US dollars. Among them, 2 are due in 2024, including a $965 million US dollar bond and a $537 million US dollar bond due on April 8, with a total balance of $1.55 billion US dollars. In China, Country Garden has successfully extended the maturity of 9 bonds, totaling around 14.7 billion yuan, for a total extension of 3 years, alleviating some of its debt pressure. At the same time, Country Garden is also facing a huge crisis of declining sales and difficulty retrieving funds. In 2023, Country Garden achieved an equity sales amount of 174.28 billion yuan, a year-on-year decline of over 50%. The company expects the market to remain at a low level this year. Since July 2023, Country Garden has been plunged into a debt crisis. In October, it triggered a default clause for failing to pay the $154 million bond interest on time. Country Garden's current debt is as high as 1.43 trillion yuan, second only to Evergrande's 2.4 trillion yuan, making it one of the world's most indebted real estate developers.